This episode of Off My Shelf contains coarse language and adult conversation. Listener discretion is advised. Hello, my name is Tracy James, and welcome to Off My Shelf, a podcast about movies that are well off my shelf, where we go through my DVDs and talk about the movies in my collection. In this episode, a fellow podcaster, Brendan Crates, from That Movie You Like the Sequel, joins me in talking about action figures, nostalgia, and childish humor as we discuss the weird and wonderful show, Robot Chicken. Welcome!
Hey, how's it going?
Not great. I am sick. You may hear it. I'm doing my best to maintain my vocal abilities right now. So if later
Yep.
on I start talking like if a demon has taken over my body, we all know why. But to put that off, I have literally a giant cup of overly spiked hot chocolate. So hopefully that'll keep me going for the whole thing.
Yeah, fight the congestion away. I don't know if it comes across with my accent or not, but I'm also kind of congested, so I think it's going to be a interesting interesting one.
Yeah, diseases flying around the world. We get it. We get it.
If,
This
if
is
we both fall asleep partway through, I'll just fast forward for like 10 minutes. I'm sure we'll wake back up.
Well, I'll be like, oh shit, we were doing a thing. Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. Okay. Yes. That's exactly what's gonna happen. It's gonna be okay, everybody. It's gonna be okay. Um but as mentioned, we're talking about Robot Chicken, and to be honest, I took absolutely no notes for this episode because I
Okay,
you can't take notes for a
I
show like
tried
Robot Chicken.
to because I feel like with Robot Chicken, especially because it's got like that channel selecty thing, so you'll be watching one thing and then it jumps to another thing. And then also I was watching compilations on YouTube, so they were also cut up. And it's just like you watch one thing and then you're immediately in the next thing, and then I've almost forgotten what the last thing. Like I enjoyed that last thing while it lasted, but now we're already into the next thing. And so I found it very difficult to write notes that weren't just this is what this thing was, just to kind of remind me that it exists.
Yeah. Well, that's the thing. It's like I call it weird and wonderful because yes, it is weird, but I find it's wonderful. The reason why you forget what happened before is because the thing that comes after is also so entertaining that you're just
Yes.
like, "Oh, I'm still having a good time no matter what's on the screen." Yay. That's
And
how it feels when I watch it.
yeah, no, definitely. And because I watched, I will probably talk about which DVDs you have in a sec, but I watched some of the early seasons again, which I've seen at least twice before, maybe three times before.
Mhm.
And going into it, some of them I just don't remember at all. And then other ones I'm like, oh, it's like a memory unlocks. And I'm like, oh, that's right. Optimus Prime with prostate cancer. I haven't thought about this in years, but now it's like right back there with me. And I'm like, oh, well, this is a really funny, like very dark, but like really funny sketch. And I haven't thought about it probably since I watched it the last time.
Oh yeah. Yeah, that's kind of how I felt about it. I've got the first three seasons on DVD, which was, oh my God, 2001 on. I don't think they came out in sequential years. I think they came out in separate years. Like, I think it was like 2001 and then 2004 and then 2006 or
Yeah, 'cause
something,
I
probably.
looked it up because I wasn't even sure if the show was still on. So, and then when I was looking at it, the 11th season only came out like 2 years ago.
Yeah,
So,
2022. I was
yeah,
also actually quite shocked. I
yeah.
thought I knew I hadn't watched it continuously in a long time, but I also didn't think they were making new episodes that recently. I was like, what? This
And
is
I
crazy.
think maybe a lot of Adult Swim shows seem to do this thing where they like Venture Brothers does this, where it'll like disappear for like 4 years and then come back with a new season of
Yeah.
like 5 episodes, and then it'll be gone for 2 more years, and then 20 episodes will come out, and then like it's a really weird sporadic release. And I feel like Robot Chicken's maybe not as extreme as that, but it's still like say wasn't necessarily like one comes out every year. It
Yeah.
just comes out when it comes out.
Yeah, it's kind of like when they're like, "Hey, we did some stuff. Do you want to put it on TV?" They're like, "Sure." I like I don't even know how that works, but
And it must take a really long time to make this show. I did watch some making of material, which we
Mhm.
might get into at some point, and I just think this show must take a long time to make too. So maybe that's why sometimes it might take more than a year to make a season.
Yeah. Well, I mean, watching anything in the first like the first few seasons, for sure, they definitely did it traditional stop motion animation style, right?
Yeah,
So they're like, you've got action figures where we were doing claymation or something, moving it
yeah,
along in a scene, we're doing it, right? They even have like an episode where they make fun of that whole process, and it's like little kids trying to make a claymation story and halfway through get mad at each other because it's taking too long and they destroy everything. And it's voiced by like Mila Kunis or something. Oh, that's crazy.
because of course it is because that's robot chicken as well.
Exactly. And then, but I find so I have watched some of the recent ones. I didn't realize how recent they were, but I like because they show on the weekends and stuff, and I'll randomly watch an episode if I'm up at 2 a.m. And but some of them I looked at it and I was like, is that still stop motion or are they kind of cheating a little bit?
Yeah,
So I
and
don't
I
know.
think yeah, I'm not sure either whether their process because I watched making of, but it was from the earlier seasons where it's very much definitely like say stop motion and with like gluing paper mouths on.
Yes, yeah.
And I don't know that they need to glue paper mouths on. I think that they could just do that after the fact, probably, and it would be easier and faster, would be my guess.
Probably, yeah.
Um, but the later ones definitely. I mean, it's more high production later on. Not that it's low production early on, but some of those later ones I saw, like you could just tell that they were significantly smoother,
Mhm.
and they just felt a bit more, for want of a better word, modern. Like they just felt that bit more technical, I suppose. I just watched random episodes, but I know, for example, there was a Fortnite one, so I'm guessing that must be from a recent season, and that one, yeah, it just had a slightly different look to the early episodes.
Yeah. Well, because I think too, like the first few seasons, it was essentially, yes, they got permission. They like, yes, they're doing this thing with what is it, Adult Swim and all this kind of stuff. But for some reason I have the feeling I probably should look this up before saying this out loud, but I'm not going to because I like to take chances. That like Seth Green and like the people who made it and stuff were like, we're rich enough and we have our own money, so we can make spaces to build this thing. But
Yeah.
later on, when it made actual money for them, and then they went into an actual studio and hired actual people to do it instead of, I feel like they were doing it themselves and like had like two friends come over to help or something. Whereas like later on, they're like, no, we have actual animation people. So it looks smoother and cleaner and whatever. But also, I feel like that's what the charm of the show was in the first few seasons was how like not that it didn't look professional, but how
Yeah.
it made you feel like you could do it as well. You know what I
Oh,
mean?
what you just said is exactly what Seth Green said. That last sentence about feeling like you could do it, he says that in the making of that I
Oh,
watched. So,
really?
yeah. So he specifically talks about so the first season you're kind of on track from the making of that I watched. So they originally made the show. They made like a series of sketches. It was for like a Sony website or a like a another show. So they were making the sketches before Robot Chicken was a thing, and then later on, and I'm not sure if these original sketches then made them way over to Robot Chicken or that was just like almost like their pilot. But then they got the money from Adult Swim, and that's where it went from there. But even in that first season, they definitely had like the professional puppet makers on board and all of that kind of stuff. But he was talking about the one way that they make it cheaper is by using the glue-on paper mouths, kind of similar to what they do in South Park. And he said what he loves about that is it still looks professional, but it does also make it feel like it's something that anyone could do, which
Yeah.
is an aspect of the show that they really like. So it's cool that you picked that up because clearly that was something they were kind of going for.
Yeah, which I think endeared people to watch it. You know what I mean?
Definitely. Yeah.
But also the people who stuck around watching it had the same sort of twisted, nostalgic sense of humor that were
Yes.
just like, yeah, I can watch this. This is good. I like this. Yeah.
And it has a very broad like range of targets. He
Mhm.
isn't just like it's not just setting up things from the 80s or 2000s or whatever. It's almost just like anything that I guess Seth Green and the other creators have ever been interested in could pop up in this show, which I really like as someone, and I think you as well. We have probably quite broad interests in terms of pop culture. Who knows what's going to come up? Like there was a sketch that was on there about the stone protectors, which are a very obscure toy line of like they're troll dolls,
Yeah.
like with the troll hair. So
Right.
they're like He-Mans but with troll heads, and they were called the Stone Protectors. And nobody ever talks about them. I've never heard anyone talk about these Stone Protectors, but there were not one but two sketches featuring the Stone Protectors, who have a band that only sings about stones and protecting them. And that becomes a problem when they play a wedding and they only play songs, mostly kind of heavy metal songs about protecting stones. But I don't feel like most people have a clue what stone protectors are. But for the people that do, it's hilarious. And for the people that don't, I think it's still funny because it's these weird troll dolls singing about stones. Even if you don't understand it, it's still quite funny.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure I saw that and was like, what? But still laughed my ass off at it because
Yeah,
hilarious. I don't know.
yeah, and because there's a lot of quite American references in it, which don't always translate to here. I mean, we got like a lot of American shows, but there are odd things that I'm like, I don't really get this, but often they're still funny anyway because the broader sketch is funny, even if the reference kind of goes over your head a little bit.
Yeah, yeah. Well, because even shows like Mask and like Voltron. Well, no, Voltron was pretty big. But they'd have like GoBots and stuff, which are just like
Yeah,
they're sort of just like lesser known things that were kind of big at the time, like at the specific time in the
yeah,
80s. You're like, I know exactly what this is, but 5 years later, you're just like, what was that thing again? I don't know. It was fun. Like they had like a sketch on like Guyver and stuff, and I was like, and people were just like, no, isn't it MacGyver? No, Guyver and MacGyver are two different things.
Guyver's
Very different things.
the bug guy, right?
Yeah, he's the bug guy. Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's like a weird American remake of like a Japanese manga, maybe or
Yeah, I think
anime.
so.
Yeah, with is Mark Hamill in that,
No, I don't think that's the one with Mark
or,
Hamill.
or
No.
maybe that's Guyver too, or maybe he's not in it at all. Maybe I'm just making it up.
It's totally possible. Guyver has no, that's the Japanese one, I think. So here's the description. It's actually not bug, it's mechanical.
Yeah,
A young man discovers a mechanical device that merges with his own body, turning him into a cyborg superhero. When strange creatures start appearing, trying to take the device back, he begins to uncover a secret plot to genetically engineer terrifying monsters. So it's monsters and robots.
yeah.
That's all it is. Yeah, and it's based on a manga. Yeah, by Yoshiki Takaya. I hope I said that correctly. But yeah, for years. Okay, so I think me and my brother actually does say Mark Hamill right on the front of it.
Yeah, I feel like he said it. I don't remember which character he is, or
He
like
apparently
he might be
plays
that guy.
Max Reed. So, but he's
It's been a
not
long time.
Guyver. He's somebody else.
Yeah,
But um, but yeah, he is
it's
in
been a
it.
long time since I saw it. Yeah, I think it's like a video that we rented at some point. Like I feel like a lot of these kind of obscure movies were.
Yeah, so as I was saying, like my brother and I had this weird habit of just watching everything when we were kids. And so we have like a very broad knowledge of just movies and stuff that were out there. And for a long time, until, it was easy to Google stuff and stream stuff and download stuff and find everything you want anywhere, essentially, until they're destroying the system now. Um, People were just like, that doesn't exist. We describe
Yeah,
shows to them and they'll be like, that's not a thing. And this was one of those shows. And like now, like as we're getting older, I'm like, I wasn't faking it. It was real. It wasn't a nightmare. There was a thing, it's very interesting. But
and well, I think we have very specific tastes as well that maybe lead towards stuff that's maybe not appealing to everyone. And then some
yeah,
of these shows and movies, like you GoBots, for example, they definitely were on TV here. They were probably on TV for like 2 months. So if you weren't really into it, you could easily have just completely missed it even existing. Or like some shows, and especially this was the case here, like like that show Birds of Prey. Do you
Yeah.
know that show? It's
Yeah.
like the
The live
Batman.
action one, right?
Yeah. So
Yeah.
that was on at 3 in the morning here. And I would record it and watch it, but I don't think many people here were watching it. So it's easily a show that I think people could just not even know it existed
Mhm.
until it pops up on some streaming service later on. But yeah, so many of those things just were just stuck somewhere to fill a gap in the TV schedule, and unless you had a specific interest in it, you probably missed it. Freaky Links. That was a show that I was like, do you know Freaky Links?
I do
Uh,
not know.
yeah. So Freaky Links is like I randomly came across it one night. It's a bit like a more lighthearted X Files, and I've never met a single person that watched Freaky Links. And the only reason that it has any kind of like internet presence is because there's this picture of a pterodactyl that people have kind of um, that became sort of viral as being like a picture of a cryptid, and it's actually from the show Freaky Links. It's these like I want to say it's like Civil War kind of soldiers holding a
Yeah.
pterodactyl, and that photo became kind of famous. But the show, I don't think anyone remembers it, and it was just one of those things.
So if this is the right show, I looked it up, and it says it's a takeoff on the Blair Witch. It's a takeoff on the Blair Witch Project, in which a guy finds out that his supposedly dead brother isn't dead after all when he sees him on the internet. It's all about his spooky adventures to find the truth, and it stars Ethan Embry.
I think
Now,
that's
now people know who Ethan Embry is, even if you don't know him by name. You know him as the guy from Hackers.
okay.
Um, that's the guy from Hackers, right? It doesn't say
I'm
Hackers
not
at the top of
sure.
the thing here. Am I picking? Wait, I thought Ethan Embry was the. No, it's the guy from Can't Hardly Wait. Right?
Okay,
Sorry,
yeah.
I'm looking it up. I'm looking it up.
Because this is how obscure it is, right?
Yeah,
Nobody knows about this show.
yeah, and
It's
he was in. Yeah, it's the guy from Can't Hardly Wait, and he was in He has a small part in Harold and Kumar Go to White Castle. He's in Sweet Home Alabama. I'm only calling out the movies I recognize that his name's
yeah.
attached to. Yeah, no, I've never seen the show. It came out in 2001.
But
That's
this is easily one of those shows that Robot Chicken someone might remember, and they do a whole sketch based on it. Like even
oh
though
yeah.
most people wouldn't know, at that Stone Protectors level of obscure.
Yeah, they're really good at just picking out some random stuff on Robot Chicken. You're just like, what is happening? This is amazing. I love it. Or even just how like twisted their humor is towards a thing that is like already exists. Like so the other night there was an episode on and it was about Baloo which is so there's Tailspin and then there's the Jungle Book, right?
Yes,
And Baloo the bear. And Baloo
yeah,
the
with the same
bear
character.
goes to sleep and is having these nightmares that he's a pilot on a plane and blah blah blah. And then he finds out that he was part of like a government experiment or something. And I was like, what the fuck is wrong with you people? But also, that makes sense now. Hilarious. Loved it. It was great.
Tailspin is I didn't love it as much as some of those other like yeah, Darkwing Ducks and all the other ones. But Tailspin is a show that I found out apparently only ran for like a single season, but it feels like it was on for years of my life.
It's not one season.
I'm pretty sure that it's one of those classic seasons where there's like 70 episodes or whatever. But it feels like it was on forever.
Is it spelled Tailspin? Is it
I
two
assume
words?
so. Like an animal tail, I would guess, but
I would think it would be like the first thing that came up, but it's not. I don't know.
again, I more obscure than maybe you think it is, and then you look into it, oh no, everyone watched Tailspin.
I know, like that show's a big part of my life.
Yeah, and like I say, I feel like it was on forever because it was on Saturday. Oh, it's spelt tail like a story spin.
Oh,
Yeah,
oh, there it
but
is. Yeah,
yeah,
1990. Yeah, 1 year. What?
yeah. But it feels. I mean, I'm sure they repeated it and stuff, right? But it feels like it was on for so long. And I think that's child memory too, where everything just feels like it was a lot longer. But
Yeah, there's 65 episodes that they released in that one year, and that was it, apparently. What? Oh my God.
that's what I mean.
Okay.
And I feel like a lot of cartoons are like that because when you're a kid, life feels so big, right? And everything seems to go for like so long because I guess it's the longest that it's ever happened to you. So when you watch these shows, you're like, oh, I remember like watching, I don't know, the Phantom 2042 or whatever it was. It was like a space version of the character the Phantom. And I feel like that was on for a long time. But I bet that only ever aired once here. Like I bet that it never was on again. But for me, it feels like I remember watching that show and tuning in kind of regularly to watch it, and it probably played for a month. But
Oh my
in
God.
child
Yeah.
brain, it was important, and for whatever reason, it stuck with me.
Well, the thing is, too, is the way we watch TV then and the way we watch TV now is very different. And
Yes.
especially with kids programming, there was only specific times of the day and specific channels where you could get cartoons and kids programming, right? So it's like, yes, every day I was home by 4 o'clock in front of the TV, but they had like three shows on, and each day was three different shows. So those
Yeah.
65 episodes could have covered 2 years. Who knows?
Yeah. Oh, definitely,
Right?
definitely. And
Um,
we only had like when I lived. So in one of the places that I lived in Australia, we only had two TV channels. There was just two. So you watched. It was different too because every kid watched what you watched. It isn't like now where Pete can watch Coco Melon or Blippy or Caleb's toy reviews or whatever he wants to watch. And there might not be that many other kids that even watch some of that stuff. But we all watched Tailspin. We
yeah,
all watched that crappy Phantom show I talked about because that was the only thing on. It was, and so we had, and I think this is maybe one of those things that we've lost in our current generation. Those kind of cultural TV moments. We don't really have those anymore because not everyone is watching stuff at like the same time like we used to kind of do, which I guess is kind of a shame. And it probably means that kids growing up now have access to more stuff than they've ever had access to before, which is really exciting. And it means that if you are into weird stuff, you can find it. But also, it kind of means that they're never going to have those big TV, like the Who Shot Mr. Burns kind of moments because they almost can't exist with the way that we have TV these days.
yeah, yeah. It's essentially like I find most of the things that are really popular, it's essentially peer pressure why they're popular. Because
Yeah,
it's like you only watch it because your friend's watching it and you want to be able to talk to your specific friend about it. But
yeah,
really, your friend can watch it this weekend and you watch it that weekend, but the rest of your class watches it the weekend before, the weekend after, or 6 months from now, or be like, just don't tell me about it. I'll get to it when I get to it. Right.
yeah,
I mean, I know I have to tell people that all the time. They're like, "Oh my God, did you watch this episode yet?" I'm like, "No, I was busy watching 8, 9, 10 of something else. I'll get to it next week." You know?
yeah,
So there's not that automatic, like you go to school, like, "Oh my God, did you watch that thing? Oh, it was
yeah.
crazy." That doesn't, it's not a thing anymore.
And you can't really miss out because it's always mostly going to be there and available. So you don't feel that pressure to I have to tune in now. If I want to know what Fox Mulder is doing this week, I have to tune in at this time and check because if I don't know where I'm going to see that episode again. Like it
Yeah.
could, I might never see it again. And so you had that kind of that ultimate fear of missing out that you kind of booked your schedule in around those things. But like I say, what that does now is it makes it really hard for us to all be on the same page with things. Movies, I think it's a little easier because they have cinema releases and it maybe is a little easier. But TV shows, especially like I think of something like a new series of Stranger Things comes out, and I might watch the entire season the first night that it's available, and then my friend might not have watched it months later, even though we're both fans of Stranger Things. Like it's that and by the time he's talking about it, it's almost a distant memory to me because I've moved on to One Piece or whatever came next.
Yeah, yeah. Well, and one thing that most people know about me is I am not a binge watcher. I don't enjoy binge watching. I get no matter how much I like the story, I get tired of watching the story if I'm watching the same story for too long.
Yeah,
So on average, if I really like something, I'll get maybe 3 to 4 episodes, and then after that, I'm like, I gotta watch something else. I don't want to be here anymore. Like I gotta walk away from it for a little while, and
Yeah,
then come back to it later and be like, oh yeah, that's right, I love this thing, and then watch 4 more episodes. That's what I have to do. But on
I
average,
try.
it's like I still watch stuff on TV, and people literally make fun of me, like, "What? You're home at 9 o'clock on a Sunday every Sunday?" I'm like, "Damn right, that's when I'm watching my show. What is your problem?"
Yeah, no, I can't relate to that. I even tried to watch. We got a new series of Gladiators here, like the American Gladiators thing, and
What? Oh,
I had to watch it on
jealous.
catch up because I just kept missing it on TV
Yeah.
because I can't program my brain to do that anymore.
Hmm.
And I have, I don't know, like I don't want to binge shows, but sometimes maybe I have no impulse control. That could be part of it as well. But like, I remember like Daredevil came out and just pumping my way through Daredevil because I didn't want it to be spoiled by someone else. So like, I was trying to get through it almost as quickly as possible because I didn't want the finale or whatever to get spoiled by some guy, some asshole on the internet. So like it's that kind of thing. And I kind of almost have the opposite issue as well. Whereas if I take too long to watch a show, like if I go 2 weeks without watching an episode of something, I'm probably never finishing that show. Like I'm probably never getting back to it because that's just the way the new shiny exciting thing attracts me, and then I get like into it. And I mean I might watch it, but it will be a year later. I'm not getting back to it a couple of weeks later. I need to kind of it needs to be a part of my routine regularly to watch it. I've been watching an anime called Hunter x Hunter, and I was watching like it every night, and I haven't watched it for a week, and I've only got 15 episodes left, and I'm like, you have to go back and watch the end because you like the show. Like you have to just sit down and watch one, and then you'll be good, and then you'll get back into it again. But I know for me, as soon as I stop, something else will come up that attracts my attention, or a hobby, or like recording podcasts, or playing a video game. Like there's so many things competing for my attention now that I guess it's very easy for me to lose attention, even on things that I enjoy.
Oh, yeah, I feel like I kind of have the opposite because I feel like when I was younger and we didn't have streaming and we didn't have like replays and recording and all this kind of stuff, it was on when it was on. And I remember
Yeah,
losing out and being distracted by so many things that like if I missed an episode of a show, half the time I was done with the show because I'm like, I'm never gonna see the episode again. When am I gonna see this episode? And then the
yeah,
next week after that, I'm just like, I don't know what happened. What am I missing? I don't even know I don't know what's going on anymore. And I would get really, really frustrated. But now it's just like, yes, on average, I'm home on Sunday at 9 p.m. Lately, it was the latest season of True Detective. Home, sat down, watched it, had a good time. Well, good time is a strong word because damn. Um, except for the last like 10 minutes of the last episode, I was like, oh my God. But it was a really good season. But anyways, but if I wasn't home, it was fine, right? I'd come home later that night, restart the episode and watch it, or the next day, sit down and watch it. It was because it's less pressure for you to rush it, but you're
yes,
also not missing any part of the story, and
yeah,
it's fine, you know? Where that didn't work with some episodes, like Better Call Saul and like Euphoria and stuff. Better Call Saul got heavy, and I was like, I can't watch, like, I missed one episode, and I was like, I'll catch up next week. And then I missed the second episode. I'll catch up the week after. And I was like, you know what? This is stressing me out too much. I can't watch the show anymore. I just stopped watching it. So it's like, if it's like Euphoria, I cannot miss an episode because if I miss an episode, I'll give up the show. But I care
yeah,
about these characters. But it's
yeah.
just the show itself is too stressful for me to watch too much of it at a time.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I think I just need to flood myself with stuff. Like that just seems to be the way that it works for me. Or I just get so interested in the next thing. I was just thinking as we were talking, like when was the last time that I felt I needed to tune into something, like at a specific time? And I was really, and this is the last time, but it's kind of a weird one because this is well after streaming came in. Um, just before my son Peter was born, we uh, he had some issues. Everyone turns out okay, so that's the okay part of the story. But we ended up having to move to like another bigger city for about 6 weeks, and we lived in Ronald McDonald House, which is like a uh, house for people that are undergoing medical treatments and specifically kids. And so we lived in this place for 6 weeks, and the Wi-Fi was really bad, so there wasn't you couldn't really stream shows. And at the same time, we have a channel here called SBS, which is kind of renowned for showing more. Um, it shows kind of all kinds of things. It's like has a very interesting and diverse range of shows that they air, and they just randomly started airing the X Files from start to
Nice.
finish. But like I think there were 2 episodes on Fridays, maybe, but normally one episode a night at 9 o'clock. And so and because we had nothing else to do, like we weren't even allowed to leave the like 3 block area that the hospital was in. So, but we were okay. Like my wife and Peter were okay, but we just couldn't go anywhere. So we sat around with nothing else to do. So we started tuning into the X Files. And my wife Sally had never really been into the X Files. I definitely was, and it became this kind of ritual and this thing that we did every night. Tuned in to watch the new X Files. She got really into the show. I got really into the show. And then once we left, we kind of tried to continue it by watching it on Disney Plus, and it just didn't work. Like we've never been able to get back into it together again because it feels like it was specifically that period of 6 weeks where we watched, and it was the best seasons too. It was like I think we started shooting it at like around the end of season 2, beginning of season 3. So it was like
Nice.
that really good period of X Files as well. And so we just have tried to continue the show after that, and it's never worked because we almost needed that situation to make us sit still and watch a show that is an hour long and not stop and start it and do all of those kinds of things. So it's just funny how that's yeah, that was probably the last time that I watched a show on a schedule, I think.
Oh, yeah, no, I usually there's an HBO show that gets me every season. And then of course there's Jeopardy, 7:30 every
Yeah.
season. Yeah, that's about it.
I
Like
think
of
I think SBS shows Jeopardy too.
yeah,
So
like
yeah,
it's not one of those, like I said, it's not one of those things where I'm just like, oh my God, I gotta be home to watch Jeopardy. It's one of those things
yes,
where it's more like, oh, Jeopardy's on. Watch when I get home, whatever. But
yeah,
like if I'm home and it's 7:30, guess what's coming on TV? Jeopardy. It's a
yeah.
thing that's happening. So I don't
We
know.
never
I
had
like it.
Jeopardy. Yeah, we never had Jeopardy here growing up. But when I lived in Canada, we watched it every night. So it's yeah,
It's great. It's great for your knowledge, okay? You learn a lot of random nonsense for no reason. And then I love it when they have like the tournaments. Actually, no, the Tournament of Champions started yesterday, made me feel sorry, on Friday, made me feel real stupid. But I love it when they have like the team tournaments and the college tournament. I'm like, I'm a genius. I
what
know
celebrities?
everything. Or the celebrity ones. Oh my God. I was winning
Because it's
every
so easy.
single game. Oh, so good. So good. But yeah, no. Yeah. So like those are like my two things. It's like 9 p.m. And maybe 11 because of last week tonight. Love watching that show when it's on. But
Yeah,
it takes like 4 month breaks randomly in between. And I'm just like, come back. But yeah, no, like I don't know. I like the concept of TV still. Just have things playing, and then I watch
and
something.
maybe I'm realizing I need that schedule a little bit to watch some things because there are certain shows that are like your True Detective or whatever. For me, I need to be in a certain kind of mind space to watch a show like that. And when I can watch it anytime that I want, I'm never I never get into that mind space. I'm like, too heavy. Not gonna watch that tonight. I'm gonna watch some crappy YouTube thing or whatever because too heavy. I can't deal with it. It's like The Sandman on Netflix. I really want to watch that show, but it came out when I had COVID, and I was like, I'm not in the right mind space to watch it. Too heavy. I watched a bit of the first episode. I was like, nah, I can't do it. Can't do it. Still haven't sat down and watched it because I know it's always there, and I'm always gonna pick that lighter thing. I feel like instead of sitting down for that more dense, cerebral kind of show that I actually love, but I just find myself finding finding it very difficult to find the time to watch those sorts of shows these days.
Yeah, I agree with you. Because like I also have like a movie watch list. Like people tell me, "Oh, watch this," or I see an
Yeah,
ad from it. I'm like, "This is I'll add this to my list so I remember it." Blah blah blah. So all of like the action movies and like the comedies, those have all been watched. And what's
yeah,
left is like the murder mystery or the slight horror or the introspection of family values or like it's all the heavy stuff that's on the list, and it's a super fucking long list still. And I'm
yeah.
just like, and every time I go to it, I look through things and I'm like, do I want to cry? Do I want to feel scared? Do I want to hate somebody? Do like, do I want to call my mom, make sure she's okay? Do I want to call that friend I haven't talked to in 15 years? Like, I don't want to do anything like this. I'm like, oh, shit blows up. Let's watch that one. That's what
Yeah.
happens.
Because in the past you had no choice. If you want to watch it, sit down.
Yeah.
Like like that. If you ever want to watch it, you got to watch it right now. So
Yeah.
I think that helped those kinds of shows in the past. It makes it a little hard, at least for me anyway. And I think sometimes as well, a lot of the shows that both me and Sally enjoy tend to be lighter ones. Like we have different tastes when it comes to that more um, serious stuff. So we tend to just watch a lot of the stuff that we have in common. So some of those other shows, I just don't have a. There's just not a time in my life where I want to like that. I need to almost be home alone to sit down and watch some of those other shows because I'm just going to find something else to do so much of the time.
Yeah, I completely agree with you. I'm exactly the same way. Because even if it's a movie that I've wanted to watch but it gets too heavy and stuff, I start like doing stuff while the movie's on. And not just
Yes,
like picking up my phone and flipping through it, but I'll be like, "Oh, I need to get a snack." Oh, should I pause it? No, just let it play, I'm in the kitchen, not even looking at it, whatever, and then come back and sit down and eat and whatever. And I just start doing these like random things to just not engage with the movie or TV show. And then at the end, I'm like, I technically watched it, but should I check off that I actually watched it? I don't know.
yeah.
It doesn't seem right.
Well, and I hate doing that. So, like, I deliberately avoid doing that, which means I think is the other reason I'll end up watching YouTube because like if I watch Retro Rick, apologies to Retro Rick, but I don't feel that bad if I miss 5 minutes while I go and do some other things while he's doing game trade-ins. Like, it doesn't. I haven't really missed anything. Whereas stuff where people have put like and Retro Rick has put effort into his YouTube, and it sounds like I'm dissing Retro Rick. I really like Retro Rick, but it's like with a movie they put so much time and effort in it that I feel like I need to give it the respect that it deserves, which means I just never do it because I know that I can't give it the respect that it deserves, and it just keeps drifting off and longer and longer.
So do you think our problem is that we just have too much stuff now?
I think that's probably part of it too,
Okay.
right? Yeah,
Yeah.
we and we're not forced to watch it at our own at anyone else's pace, which means that your pace can be anything, and that could be never.
But
Even if you're in.
also, yeah, but I'm gonna bring this back, but I think that's why I think a show like Robot Chicken is really good for people like us.
Yes,
It's first of all, they're 11-minute episodes. They're not very long.
yes,
And second of all, even within those 11-minute episodes, the skits are 2 minutes long. So if you don't like something, it's done in 2 minutes. You're
yeah.
fine. If you
If you
miss
missed it,
something,
yeah, doesn't matter. You haven't missed anything.
exactly,
Yeah,
it's just gone to something else already. You're fine.
this
And
happened today. I was playing a YouTube compilation this morning to kind of get prepared for this episode. I had to come and do something, and I just left it playing because I was like, I'm not. I'll just come. I'll jump back into it. Like when I come back, there'll be another one on, and I'll work out what that is, and I'll be good. It doesn't matter. I'm not going to have time to watch everything in this anyway, so I'll just watch whatever pops up. And I think, like I say, that's perfect for this kind of viewer.
yeah, and also the fact that it's light content, it's
Yes,
funny, half the time you can just hear what's happening and you're like, "Ah, that's hilarious."
yes,
It's fine. It's fine. And it's also the same reason I think so many people love to rewatch shows now. It's like when they rewatch them, no matter how much you love it, even if you don't sit in front of it, you know what's going to happen. You know what's going
Yes.
on, and you can enjoy it while you're doing something else.
Yes, definitely. Malcolm in the Middle is my one of those. Like I've
Love that
watched
show.
all 7 seasons of that show at least 5 or 6 times. Plus, when I watched them initially when they were on TV, like that doesn't even include that time. And it's great for that very reason. I'll watch it. I'm sure I'll watch it again in another year or so. And it is. You can sit down, you can be eating, you can miss a bit because you don't need to see it all. You only need to see the bits that kind of hit those triggers and be like, oh, I love this episode. And then you walk out and don't even don't even watch it. But
Yeah.
you still got that feeling of, oh, I love this episode.
Yeah, that's like me with episodes of like Seinfeld or early seasons of The Simpsons. I'm like
Yeah.
cleaning, doing all kinds of stuff, and I'm laughing before the joke happens because I know the joke's happening. Or like I'm running from one room to the next to just see that one part that I have to see, you know.
Yeah.
And then you're set. You're good. You're good, and then you're
I
in a good mood because you had a good time with it, and you're set. You're set for the day.
need to be back here before Hal gets on those roller skates because I know I'm just gonna love that.
Exactly, exactly. Um, so with Robot, are there any, do you remember any specific skits or bits from Robot Chicken that are like your favorites that you can like remember?
So I struggled with that a little bit because I feel like Robot Chicken is a show, and I mentioned I've watched it multiple times, where I love it, but I think because of the format that we've talked about, I struggle to remember individual parts of it very much. There are odd ones, like the Optimus Prime with prostate cancer that then becomes a PSA for men going and getting checked for prostate cancer because Optimus Prime doesn't have a prostate. That one, like, that really got me because I just as soon as it started and they're showering and they're talking about Optimus Prime going to the toilet so much, and I'm like, oh, I know what this is, and like I haven't thought about that in years. But I was also looking because we had talked about the fact that I'm quite into toys and like trying to spot specific toy things in there as well, and that the Bumblebee in that sketch has like the one big foot that the original Bumblebee has. It doesn't like come apart to make two legs. He kind of stands on one big foot. And so I was like, oh, they've used that Bumblebee design. And then it goes to Optimus Prime peeing. And then it goes to Optimus Prime going to the doctor and realizing he should have got checked earlier. And then, like, and it just turns into this weird, crazy thing. And then he dies. And then it cuts to him sitting on a chair being like, but that didn't really happen because I don't have a prostate. But you do. And you need to, like, and so that sketch does really stand out to me as one of the like more memorable ones. But that's probably just because I watched it last night as well. Like, so
Yeah.
there's that kind of that's the thing with Robot Chicken. I feel like you can watch it over and over because you probably it's in one ear out the other, but in the best way. Like not in a negative way, like but in a really positive way of I enjoyed that. Now I enjoy the next bit. Now I enjoy the next bit.
Yeah, no, I agree with you. But there are definitely like maybe these are just episodes I have watched over and over. And these are not even the episodes that I've rewatched recently because they just weren't part of what I watched. I don't know what episodes these bits are in, but they're definitely like I think Robot Chicken, and there's a few of them that I think of that are just how do I put this? They're absurd. Like they're
Yeah,
absurdist humor, you know? And like I think I've actually think I've mentioned it before on the podcast. One of the ones that I love. It's literally 3 seconds long, and it's a pirate, and he's got the what's the wheel on the ship called?
steering
The
wheel.
it's just the steering wheel, right? Anyways,
I,
well, it's attached
yeah.
to it's attached to him in a very special place, and somebody walks up and he's
Oh,
like, they're like, "What's with the wheel? It's driving me nuts." That's it. That's the whole skit.
yeah.
And
Watched it
every
yesterday. Forgot about it. Even when you were talking about Pirates and Wheels, didn't click that that's what you were talking about until you talked about the next bit. And I just watched it, like literally just watched it.
yeah, and it's 3 seconds long, and I just think it's one of the funniest things ever. I don't know
It is.
why. And my
It's very good.
description is not doing it any kind of justice, but trust me, it's hilarious.
The really short reoccurring ones are probably the ones that stand out to me the most. So there's like the robot that just keeps humping people's washing machines and or like other appliances.
Yeah.
That one stands out to me, I think, because there's that repetition. So it's not only happening once, it happens like a lot over the course of a season. The other one, I think it is all one episode, and it might even be this Transformers episode, I think. But there's a hockey player, and he just checks people into walls constantly. So it'll
Okay.
just be it's only like a few seconds. It'll be just a guy like standing there, and there's a hockey player comes. So I think the first time it's at a hockey match, he just slams this guy into a wall, and then the next time it's like I don't know, out the front of someone waiting by the front of a shopping center, and he just slams him into a wall and skates away. And
Yeah.
then by the end of it, it's like a guy at a urinal peeing, and then the hockey guy just comes in and slams him into the urinal, and then like skates away. And that one really stands out to me as being really funny. But again, I think it's that repetition that allows me to kind of
Yeah, there's
bring.
yeah, there's another one like that, but it's one episode. I remember this being in one episode because it was like again, it's one of those like 3 second things that's like sprinkled throughout. And it starts with it's a guy, they're in a park, and it's like two old guys at the park, and one of them like clutches his chest, falls over, and dies. And the other guy's like, and then he starts clutching his chest and he dies, and another old man walks in and laughs at that guy. Anyways, they quote unquote change the channel, something happens, and then it comes back and there's like a slow pile of bodies in the park, but old people keep walking in laughing at each other dying. And it does that like 4 times in the episode. And I'm like, why is this funny? Like it's so like wrong. And it's
Yeah,
just, but you just like it's just there the way it's done because it's like no and it's just so ridiculous that I'm like I'm happy I watch the show by myself most of the time because I'm
yeah.
afraid what people will think when they see the skits that I laugh the most at. They're just like, what is
Yes,
wrong with you?
I was surprised that like because I haven't watched it in a little while. How dark some of the scripts, like sketches are, because I'd kind of forgotten that. I remember it being a fairly light show, and in terms of like adult shows, I don't really remember it being that adult. But then when I was watching it this time, I was like, oh yeah, this is definitely not for kids. Like this is, yeah. um, the other one that stands out to me that I remember really well, and I didn't see this in my recent watch, so it must have really stood out. It's like the real world, but with horror characters. So it's like Jason and Ghostface and Freddy, and they all live together in a house. That one kind of stands out to me as being, I think it was one of the longest sketches and being kind of like a funny one.
Yeah. There's a I'm letting everybody know how morbid of a humor I have. There's one that's literally called Darkest Sketch, and it's
Is this
this
the Tooth Fairy one?
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
It's super long. And it's literally like this dad puts his kid to bed and the tooth fairy comes in to like give him coins or whatever, all sparkly and stuff. But then the parents have a fight outside the door. And then they have like different scenarios about how that turns out. It goes from like the mother killing the father killing the mother, the tooth fairy killing the father, the tooth
Yeah.
fairy kidnapping the boy, cops showing
Yeah.
up, murdering everybody. And then it's like, then there's a parade at the end going, darkest sketch, darkest sketch. And I was just like, oh my God, what is happening?
Yeah,
It's
that's a
like,
very weird one.
it's so weird, but it works
Yeah.
somehow. But I know for a fact if I showed like my parents that, they'd be like, "What is wrong with you?" That's
Yeah,
all that happened.
and if you watched it like outside of Robot Chicken, like I feel like if you just showed someone just that sketch and they'd never seen Robot Chicken before, they'd be like, "What the fuck is this? Like,
Yes.
what is this thing?" But Robot Chicken has trained your brain to be okay with just expecting almost anything, because even like the first time it's like, oh, and now here it is with an alternate ending, and you're like, wait, what? What is alternate? Like, is this from the DVD extras? What is this? And then it just, but you just go with it because
Yeah.
that's what you do on Robot Chicken. Yeah, you go with it and you just see where it takes you. And so I think that sketch could almost not really, it couldn't easily work on like a different show. It's specifically a Robot Chicken sketch.
Yeah, I feel like like it definitely wasn't like the first episode of the show or anything. But if it
No.
was the first episode of the show, nobody would ever watch Robot Chicken. But because
Yeah.
it's like later on when people are just like, oh, I get this show. This show's just messed up. You get
Yeah.
it at that point.
Yeah.
You just watch it. You know what I mean? But like it is odd. And like there's one I do like some of the ones that are like traditional toy ones. Of course,
Yeah.
there's like, Voltron doing like the dance battle in space.
That's a good one.
That's a good one. There's also the one where He-Man has to go to the Eternian dentist. Molar,
Oh,
like
yeah.
that one. I love
And
that
Mola
one.
got an action figure later
Yeah.
on. Yeah. The another one that stood to me was the Dick Tracy one, and he's just like giving everyone horrible nicknames. So
He
because
takes
like
off his hat.
all these bad guys are like prune face or flat top, and he's like, "Hey, Mad Boobs," and it's just like this guy that he works with, and he's just like this real jerk going around giving everyone bad nicknames. I thought that one was pretty funny. And then another one I watched last night was The Pursuit of Happy Days, which is just The Pursuit of Happiness, but they've replaced Will Smith with the Fonz. And but like apart from that, it's the same. And like they haven't really changed much. And it's very funny.
Oh god, I do love that one. Oh, that reminds me of they did a Kill Bill one, but it's Jesus fighting the Easter Bunny. Jesus is like the bride and like the yellow and stuff,
Oh,
and
I don't think I've seen that one. Yeah,
They're in Japan and everything. They got the music and stuff. It's hilarious. I love it. Um, like I'm trying to think of like one more. Like, is there another one? Oh, there is. They had like a DC superhero special or
yes.
something that have like a whole bunch of skits, and like the last skit is like the Justice League fighting Starro on like a beach in like Hawaii, and but Batman's there and he has to get home, and the Green Lantern has him on like a boat and he's like taking him home, and Batman starts singing "Sailing," and you're just like, oh my god, why is this funny?
Yeah, that's it. It's just like weird stuff. There was a good one. I'd never seen this one before. I have no idea if it's a later one or an earlier one, but it's like the Ninja Turtles and they've teamed up with Muckman. I don't know if you remember the action figure Muckman. He's kind of like he's what you can imagine. He's just like this pile of muck. And
Okay.
anyway, the Turtles leave, and Muckman's still there with April O'Neil, and he just lets out this huge fart, and then but he just keeps denying that it was him, and he keeps saying like, no, like that was really weird, wasn't it? I think Shredder must have like snuck in and done a really big fart and then run away. And everyone's like, I know that you did it. Like, why are you lying about this, Muckman? And he's like, no, like we were both here, and like Shredder must have snuck in through that back door, and he laid a big fart, and then he ran out of here. And she's like stop lying. I know it was you, and it's okay. Like we all do this sometimes. And he's like, no, like maybe it was Craig. Maybe Craig came in and he did this big fart, and just April getting more and more frustrated with Muckman. It was I'd never seen it before, but it was really funny.
Oh, I love it. I absolutely love it. Yeah. I just remember one more. So there's a skit where like the bad guys are going to work, and it's like Lex Luthor, Skeletor, who else? Cobra, and I don't know, it's four villains in a car, and they're in traffic and they're trying to get to work, and like they're just like change lanes, do this, and one of them farts in the car, stinks it up and stuff. But then like the superheroes in a car beside them and won't let them change lanes to get the exit, so they miss their exit and stuff. It's really funny. I like look, I could just like every 5 minutes all I can remember, I'm like, oh, this skit's really funny and this skit's really
Yeah,
funny. But yes.
Napoleon Bonaparte, where it's just Napoleon Bonaparte, but with Napoleon Dynamite in it. Like it's
Yeah.
such a dumb joke, but it's really funny.
Oh my God. Sorry. The episode I watched the other day was an episode I'd never seen before. And it was remember the cartoon Gummy Bears bouncing here and there and
Yes.
everywhere? Yeah. So
Yep.
it's like the Gummy Bears, they were like having a meeting and they're like, we're family. And one of them was like, are we? I don't think we're blood related. And they're like, we're not. And they're like, so we could have been having sex with each other this whole time? And then it turned into an orgy. And I was like, I feel uncomfortable, but this is funny. I don't know.
Yeah, I forgot how much like sexual content that was in the show because I guess a lot of those sketches weren't the ones that like I really remembered, but there was one that I watched this morning where it was it's Solid Snake, and he wakes up in bed next to this woman, and he and the first thing he says is, "What did I put my Solid Snake into this time?" And then he wakes up with this woman, and then the whole episode is him trying to like sneak out of her house without being caught, so he doesn't have to go to brunch with her friends, and it's really good.
Yeah, it's just I don't know, like I find some of my friends that I have right now are too quote unquote sophisticated for this humor. And they're
Yeah.
just like, why do you watch this? This is nonsense. And I'm like, because it's hilarious. That's it.
I wasn't
That's
sure.
it.
Like, I was like, am I gonna like this? It's been a long time since I watched it. Like, am I gonna enjoy it? I definitely did. But I also, it's the same thing. I think I know a lot of people who just this would not be for them.
No, no. Surprisingly, as a joke, the season one DVD of this I got was a gift from a friend who was making fun of me for liking the show. Because I'm like, I would have never bought it, right? But I was like, but thank you. This show is good. What are you
Yeah.
talking about? And then I went, of course, and went on to buy two more seasons. But like, why wouldn't I? Like, this show is, you're not making fun of me. Like, this is hilarious.
This
I
is
don't
a very
know.
thoughtful gift, you jerk.
So yeah, I like this show. It's
Yeah,
good.
me
Whatever.
too. And I think then there's the toy aspect, which really appeals to me
Yes.
as well. And you kind of asked about like whether there were specific toys that I like noticed in it.
Mm.
And it's really funny because initially it must have just been the ones that I was watching. They didn't really use the real toys very often. And I think maybe as the show goes on, they sometimes do that a bit less as well. Like maybe they did it more in the early episodes because most of the characters are like custom. I guess they like custom toys or custom characters. But they are still very much done in the design of. So there's a toy company called Mego who made toys, and especially in the 70s and early 80s, they were really big. And they made people like older, the people sort of probably 40 and above will probably recognize them. They kind of made these dolls that had like cloth clothes and like plastic heads, and they have the joints that they have on Robot Chicken, like the very specific arm joints. They have that, like so. It's very, at least to me, it's very apparent that they've based their custom characters on Migos and try to make them look like that. And all the characters that appear that had a Migo tend to look like the Migo version of them. So like the Batman that usually is on the show, unless they're like setting up a specific Batman, the Batman they usually use is the Migo version of Batman, which is the blue one, and he's got big gloves like he
Yeah.
had in the toy. Spider-Man is the same. Like he's usually like the normal suit, the red face. Like you definitely, if you've ever seen the toy, he looks exactly like the toy. Um, Even and Migo did so many things. Like they made Planet of the Apes toys. They made what's that show? Chips.
Chips.
The
Yeah. Yeah. The
Yeah, the
motorcycle
motorbike.
hubs. Yeah.
Oh, sure. They made figures of Chips, and so like a lot of those early season show episodes of Robot Chicken also seem to be like it's like someone looked at their Migo collection and they were like, what was in there? Because a lot of the early ones, especially, seem to be based on the Migo versions of characters. I actually, this is a little off topic, but I got a Migo Spider Man last year, I think, and I've wanted one in my collection for a while, but because they toys from the 70s and they have cloth clothing, most of them aren't in very good condition and they're very expensive. And I randomly bought one on eBay and I think I paid about $100 for it. And it had like one very blurry photo. And the guy, when I was talking to the guy, he was like, oh, I'm selling this for my friend. Like, and I was like, oh, okay. I'm just going to roll the dice because this seems cheap. Like, I'm just going to get it. And it arrived, and it's the tiniest, cleanest Migo I have ever seen. It's got the buttons are still attached on the back. It's all tiny and clean. And to the point that I like got online and talked to some of my other toy friends, and I'm like, is there any way that this is counterfeit? Because this looks to be in too good condition for me to have randomly bought this from some random guy. Uh, what 50 years later, and We worked it out. We think that maybe this person was just a Batman fan and not a Spider-Man fan, and it's been sitting in a drawer for 50 years because
Which,
it's
yeah.
perfect. As far as I can tell, not counterfeit. I did learn a lot about Mego Spider-Man from doing my research. There were like 7 different versions. He was the most made character. So there are like all different web designs. So you could get like triangle web Spider-Man or like uh, where he has a round web around his emblem. And they're all slightly different variants of Spider-Man because they released Spider-Man in every single superhero wave that they ever did.
Oh.
Spider-Man was like the most released figure in Mego. So it was just that was quite interesting. So Mego seems to be like a huge influence on Robot Chicken.
Yeah, and
Um,
these are sorry, and the Migo ones are these are like the like 5-inch figures or something?
yeah, I'm trying to think. They're sort of between. I think they're 5 or 6 inches. They're bigger than you probably imagine. Like they're bigger than a He-Man.
Oh, because I
Um,
was I was thinking they're like the GI Joes.
yeah, yeah. So they are closer to the big Geo Joes.
Oh,
Um,
they're okay.
but but they're not that big, but they look more like that, if
Okay.
that makes sense.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
yeah, I'd guess I actually don't know. I think they're about 6 inches tall.
Yeah.
Like they are a little bigger than He-Man and Ninja Turtles and those kinds of things. But yeah, they're not as big as like the 12-inch G.I. Joe Action Man kind of
Okay. Yeah.
line. But and I think that it's interesting because I think that informs the scale that they shoot Robot Chicken in, because I'm pretty sure they shoot everything in Mego scale. Because when the biker mice from Mars were in it, they definitely used biker mice action figures. So that was one that like they didn't have custom puppets for the biker mice, and you could tell because they were limited by the articulation that biker mice actually have, and so the biker mice can't lift their arms up. They can only go straight up in the air. They can't like you couldn't put a biker mouse into like a T pose, and their heads aren't on balls, so they only look left and right. They can't look up and down.
Okay.
So you could tell because when they were talking to the Sons of Anarchy, because that's what the sketch is, the biker mice are the Sons of Anarchy. One, their heads. They're never really making contact with the Sons of Anarchy because they don't have the articulation to do it. But then when they're riding on their bikes later, they're much smaller as well than the Sons of Anarchy are because they are still in their scale of the Bikeomize action figures, which I thought was kind of interesting that they didn't like scale them up.
Yeah, that reminds me of because you're talking about chips, you're talking about that, and
Yeah.
it triggered a memory of a sketch where they did it was like a chips death race or whatever. And they had like
Yes.
all the different like they had like the Scooby-Doo gang and they had like Speed Racer characters. They had all anything that had a car at some point in time, they had them like Batman and stuff was in there. But like
Yeah.
in the shots and stuff like that, they're all different scales of
Yes.
whatever the
Yeah.
toys were in, to fit
Yes.
like cars or whatever. So yeah, that explains it because like I guess that
It,
one maybe they were using the actual toys, not custom
I,
made
I
figures or anything.
I think so, and I think it depends on how much they need to use them, whether they can just get away with using the action figures. Because for the one I was telling you about with Muckman and April O'Neil are vintage Ninja Turtles figures. Um, the Turtles are a different kind of figure. So they're a NECA, much more recent figure. They're like NECA figures that were based on the Eastman and Laird comic
Hmm.
Turtles. So
Yeah.
they're very specific and they have way more joints and way more articulation. And they're the turtles that they use for every sketch on Robot Chicken because I watched a whole bunch of Turtles ones just to kind of work this out. And I think specifically because those figures are kind of expensive, I think they're actually the Hong Kong knockoffs of the NECA figures, and you can tell because either that or they customize them. But I think they just bought the cheaper ones. But the Hong Kong ones have colored masks, whereas the original NECA ones only had red masks. They were based on the first
The
appearance
original,
of
yeah.
the Ninja Turtles. So I'm pretty sure that for the Turtles, they're using Hong Kong knockoffs of NECA Ninja Turtles. For April O'Neil and Muckman, they're using vintage toys, and they're in different scales. And then there's another episode later on where Shredder is killing the turtles by throwing plastic straws at them because turtles kryptonite is plastic
Of course.
straws,
Of
and
course.
that Shredder is a NECA figure as well, but he's based on the cartoon version. So he has a completely different paint job, a
Wait,
completely
the 80s, the 80s
yeah,
slash 90s cartoon? Okay.
yeah, exactly. So he's that figure,
Yeah.
which is a different Turtles toy line from NECA, and they look different because he's painted like the cartoon, whereas they're painted like the comics, and then April and Buckman are just the vintage toys. But they just use them all interchangeably, and if you're not like a super nerd for action figures like me, you probably wouldn't even notice like
Yeah.
that they're using all of these things. But like literally, Buckman and April O'Neil can only move their arms up and down. That's all that they can do, and they have a whole sketch of just them. And they obviously like, for what the sketch is, we only need 5 points of articulation. We don't need to. We don't need knee joints. We can get away with it from these
Get away
guys.
with it. Yeah, exactly, right? Like, but maybe it was just like these are the ones we could find for right now. We're just gonna
I
use
think
them.
so. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Well, this is a cool look. The stone protectors appeared to be like real stone protectors when I was watching it, whereas I think most of the Transformers were custom made, but
Yeah.
made to look like the toys. So, like, the Bumblebee had the one foot joint, but I don't think it was a real Bumblebee. I'm pretty sure, or if it was like customized and modified to do what they wanted it to do. Um, so yeah, it's interesting because in my mind they always use the real toys, but when I was rewatching it, I realized actually they don't use the real toys that often.
Yeah, I like yeah, because they do have a lot of like custom characters like that they
Yes,
have and that recur and stuff like that. But yeah, like but if they have like a themed one, like this is a Transformers one and this is a Ninja Turtle and this one's
yeah,
Star Wars and this one no, they did a Star Trek one that was clearly not Star Trek figurines.
the Smurfs they used like again, I'm not sure if they're custom, but they've designed them to look like the Smurf figurines that we would have grown up with.
Yeah.
Even if they're not the Smurf figurines, they've designed them that scale and that look. So that's the other reason why it's sometimes I think hard to tell because they are sometimes creating custom ones that mimic the look of a real toy, but they're not actually using the real toy. But at times they are. Like the biker mice, they were 100% using the real toys, and you can tell.
Yeah, I don't know how I would feel about ripping open my toys and having them manhandled for 30 hours. I don't think I'd
Yes.
like it. It's,
So Street Sharks, they use the real Street Sharks. And the Street Sharks, so I collect Street Sharks and I have a decent sized collection of Street Sharks. Also, Extreme Dinosaurs, which was like a weird spin off from Street Sharks. They use the real ones of those too. But the two kind of cool things. One, they clearly just used whichever Street Sharks they could get on eBay because um they're not cohesive. They're all from different waves of the toy line. So you'll have like Ripster is just normal Ripster, but then Slamu is like superhero Slamu, who's from like the second last toy line of Street Sharks. So clearly with those ones, because it was just for one sketch, they just got whatever they could get and didn't worry too much.
I swear you and the toy makers are the only people who would have picked that out about Street Sharks. Just letting you know.
So also with the extreme, another fun fact, maybe it's not fun for anyone else, but the Extreme Dinosaurs one, the pterodactyl is missing his wings, and if you buy a secondhand pterodactyl, I guarantee he's missing his wings unless like you pay through the nose to get him. So that was funny too because clearly they just bought the pterodactyl and they're like, he doesn't have any wings. Just put him in a jacket or whatever, and it kind of covers it up.
No, but why? Were the wings detachable or something, and people just
Exactly.
lost them? Okay.
Yeah, so they're like and this is something I've noticed as someone who collects Street Sharks. Usually I'm interested in accessories, but the Street Sharks accessories all suck. Like they all are terrible and they add nothing to the character. They're very expensive because no kid cared about them and they just immediately got lost. But if you get like the what's the rollerblading one? I can't think what his name is. The rollerblading. If you get the rollerblading dinosaur with his whip, he's worth way more than without this terrible whip. But it doesn't look better, and it actually arguably displays better without them. So I've always been someone that doesn't um Streets, I think his name is, and I think he had two names, one in the cartoon and one in the toys. But
It, sorry, it's Streaks Streex.
yes, Streaks, yeah, and but I think it maybe in the first release of the toys he has a slightly different name as well. and they changed it to make it with the show. But yeah, so the accessories are always missing for these things, and the only one that it matters with is the pterodactyl from Extreme Dinosaurs, because if his accessories are missing, he has no wings. And a pterodactyl needs to, in my opinion, a pterodactyl needs to have wings. He's like the only figure I have that has accessories.
I mean, I would like if it doesn't have wings, it's not a pterodactyl anymore. I'm
No,
sorry, it's just
yeah,
it's not.
but the
Um,
vast majority of Extreme Dinosaurs figures of the pterodactyl, I guarantee, will not have wings.
got it.
Um, and and even Robot Chicken, they didn't spring for the wings. They were like, we don't need them. Because the wings probably add $50 or more to the cost of this toy. Like
Yeah,
it's pretty silly.
it's because
Some of the
it's probably because it's just so hard to have the accessory that like you said,
yeah,
most kids just threw them out or didn't care about them. They're lost somewhere, got
and
swept up. It's just over.
street tracks are made of like a kind of rubber as well, which it holds up fairly well, but the paint rubs off on them quite a lot. So you can see that in the toys in the show. But their accessories are made of like a hard plastic, and I also feel like they're quite fragile. Like I think the hard plastic maybe didn't last as well, so the wings just break off. I think a lot of the time as well, like they just flake off because when I've got the ones with accessories, the accessories feel really cheap and really crap. Like they feel like if you play with them too much, they're gonna break. Whereas the sharks themselves are pretty resilient.
Got it. Yeah. I don't know. I think that was like I don't know. Like especially like I know there's lots of toys now. That's
Yeah,
not an issue. But like all of these shows that were meant to just have toys, I don't think people really cared that much about the quality of them when they were putting them out in like the 80s and 90s.
yeah,
Like
yeah,
when
definitely.
what like because it was yeah in the 70s and stuff with like Star Wars and everything when like it really first started getting this push on like these specific toys for specific properties. But like at that time, they were just like, yeah, they're toys. They're meant to be destroyed. Who cares? Here you
Yeah,
go. That was it,
and most of those shows were just toy commercials,
Yeah.
like your Transformers, and that's not to say that any of them aren't good, because some of them are quite good in spite of that. But they were really, and I don't know exactly how it works, but my understanding is you weren't allowed to have too many kind of ads for these toys in with a certain thing. But if you just made a show about the thing, you could have a toy ad that lasted for 30 minutes. And so you could kind of get around some of those advertising the kids things. And that's why they all have like educational messages in them in the 80s as well. Is I think it's like, oh, we're gonna cheer Joe where it's just guys shooting each other. We need to put an educational message in at the end so it's not just a toy commercial. So they're like kids are learning something from watching this show. So it was a different like it was a really specific time where these things were like attacking us on multiple fronts to try and get us to buy this cool like and I kind of it's one of those things where on the one hand that feels a bit sketchy, but also I love all of my memories of these toys and things, and there's part of me that kind of feels like Pete misses out by like not having these toys heavily being promoted to him constantly.
Well, I think that's one of the reasons why nostalgia in advertising and movie making and new TV shows worked so well, especially on like our generation,
Yeah,
or like like I would say Gen X and what is it, millennials, I guess, not our parents generation. Well, our parents generation is more music based, where our stuff is like visual and stuff based.
yes.
And if you make anything that we connect to as a kid, we're buying it, we're seeing it,
Yeah.
we're buying it, we want everything to do with it, we don't even care, we're there, it
So
works.
Australia literally just got the adult Happy Meal promotion that was a thing a little while ago,
Yeah.
and our adult Happy Meals have Nugget Buddies in them. I don't know if you remember Nugget Buddies, but they were like the nuggets that you dress up in clothes, little plastic
i,
nuggets, and
I
they're
do remember
exactly the
this.
same. But it's this. I guess they're designed by. I don't know if he's a comedian or an artist, just seemingly kind of weird guy, and he's just given like six weird designs to them to make nugget buddies of. So they're not cohesive or anything in particular. They're just like one of them is a queen, and then another one is a character called Don Bernice, and it just looks to be an old lady wearing a cape. And I'm sure that came from somewhere. But yeah, we're heavily in this household at the moment. We're heavily into Nugget Buddies, and we've got all of them but one. And
Wait,
we're trying
which one are you missing?
the one my I don't know what his name is because again they don't mean anything to anyone. My son describes him as the Flash one, but he's got kind of spiky. He looks like he's
Well, no,
got a
there's a guy that looks like he's got ice all over him and he's got like polar bear boots.
yeah. I think that's him. I think that's
That's
the
him?
one.
Okay.
Yeah, I think that's what we did. And there is apparently a gold nugget as well. Who's
Oh,
like a secret chase, but I have no idea how many of the gold nuggets are out there.
I have no idea either. I mean, I had heard I'm fine with McDonald's and stuff, but I'm not a huge McDonald's fan. I didn't know anything about this, and now suddenly I'm like, "Oh, I can get a thing? I
Yeah.
want that." Whatever.
Well, so I don't know, and I don't know if this is the case in Canada. I know other countries have done it differently, but Australia Happy Meal toys are no longer plastic. So the kids' Happy Meal toys they're all paper based and all recyclable now.
Oh,
And my group of friends who are interested in toys like lament like I agree with it from a saving the world kind of point of view, but man, they're just such disappointing toys that
that's
in comparison to the old plastic ones.
my
So
God.
when they brought out the adult ones that have plastic ones, I've been buying my son an adult Happy Meal, which costs twice as much because we want to get the Nugget Buddies, and that's way more exciting than getting like the last one he got. I think was like a Sonic sticker poster. So it's like a big poster that you put stickers on. It's still fun. Like he still has fun with it. But to me, it feels so disappointing in comparison to what I used to get in my Happy Meals. Like I used to get Muppet Babies with vehicles and like all of these cool things, and it definitely affects him because so we have another chain here called Hungry Jack's, which is Burger King, and their version of the Happy Meal still has real toys in it. And so if he ever gets to choose where we go for dinner, he'll pick Hungry Jack's because they have better toys than McDonald's has. So he has picked up on the fact that the McDonald's toys are kind of disappointing now.
Yeah, I mean, I know we want to like save the world and stuff, but it's a kid. If it's a piece of paper, it's gonna get destroyed in like 5 minutes and get thrown away. And I'm not
Yeah.
saying the plastic toy isn't gonna get thrown away,
And
but
I think
trust me,
that's
the
the
plastic
problem.
toy
Yeah.
will hang out a lot longer, you know.
I think
I'm
those plastic toys that like fill up every market stall that you've ever been to that are just full of like McDonald's toys. Like I think that is the problem, and I get it, and I kind of even agree with it, but it makes me sad. It just makes me sad. It's
Well, because it's not really a toy anymore. Like
not.
I know every once in a while they have a like a push for the kids to read and stuff. So the toy is a book. The kid gets a book.
Oh,
I'm
you can
okay
choose.
with that.
Yeah, so here you can choose. So every Happy Meal you can choose whether you want a toy or a book now.
Mhm.
So you have the option. But the books are always really crap. Like
Oh,
sorry McDonald's, but your books are just they're bad. And they're not good books. If they had good books in them, we would sometimes choose books. But we never do, because every time we get a book, like when the toys have run out, they're awful. They're like terrible books that no one ever would want to read.
oh no. Okay. Well, I haven't read any of the books. I can't
Yeah.
be on part of this. It's fine.
You've never seen a kid more disappointed than my son when he gets a book at McDonald's. And
Oh,
he loves
I've
reading. He loves books. They're just bad books.
I will say I've seen a kid be given a Happy Meal where the parent was like, "I gave you apple slices instead of fries."
Oh,
That kid's disappointed. That
monster.
kid's disappointed.
That person is a monster. Then why have they even got if you're taking your kid to McDonald's, just get them the chips. Like, yes, they're unhealthy, but you're going to McDonald's. Like, you're not going there to don't give them the apple slices. Nobody
Yeah,
wants those.
that's just cruel, I think. Absolutely cruel. Oh, here's a picture of the golden nugget. It literally looks just like a nugget with eyes and it's gold in
Yeah, I
color.
don't think it has clothes like the other ones does. I think
No.
it's a
It
gold
also
nugget.
it also looks like half the size off. Like it just looks smaller. Maybe it's because it doesn't have all this stuff around it, but it just looks smaller.
Maybe. And I think it's just like the generic face. Like it doesn't have its own face either. It's
Correct.
because I think with the old Nugget Buddies, I don't think they had faces. Like
No.
they all had the same face. So you
Yep.
just change their clothes around. Whereas the new Nugget Buddies have distinct faces. Like one guy's got eyebrows, another one's got like lipstick, they're a bit more unique now.
See, now I am thoroughly interested in going to McDonald's to see if they have the adult Happy Meals there.
Yeah,
What have you
because
done? Why have you done this to me?
and I don't know if this is a nationwide thing or just an Australia thing, these Nugget Buddy ones, because I know a while back there was the adult Happy Meals that came with like the grimaces and they had like four eyes. Some art toy company designed them. So it was like Grimace, Birdie, Ronald, and the Hamburglar, but with like disturbing faces, essentially, is what came with them. But we never got those. That was like a year or so ago.
Well, it says here it says Etsy Canada. Oh no, this is from 1996. That doesn't count. They had Nugget Buddies that were dressed up. One was dressed up as Ronald, one was dressed up as like an alien, blah 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 blah. But but no, I'm only seeing the most recent ones mostly.
Yeah, because we had like Halloween Nugget Buddies when I was a kid, so it was like a ghost and a vampire
Mhm.
and stuff like that. Which those are the really iconic ones here, and I think why they went this route with these ones. Because I actually think more iconic than the Nugget Buddies here, we had the Fry Kids
Oh,
that
I
had
remember the Fry
swappable
Kids.
clothes.
Yeah.
Yeah, they had swappable clothes, and to me, they were actually the better. That I would if McDonald's came to me and said, Brendan, I want you to design an adult McDonald's toy range, I would either go with the Fry Kids with the swappable clothes, although now that they've done that with the Nugget Buddies, I might want to go a different direction, and I would go the Transformers that transformed into Big
Mhm.
Macs and stuff.
Those were
They
cool.
that would be what I would probably do. Like if we were bringing back toys for adults, I think I would go down the. I think changeables. I think they were called. I would go down the route of the changeables, bringing those guys back.
You wouldn't want to go with like a franchise and like pick something like you mentioned Muppet Babies because I remember
Yeah,
actually
they were good ones.
if I looked, I probably still have it. I had Baby Miss Piggy on a tricycle. I had that
Yes,
one.
yeah.
That was like my favorite thing for a very long time. I love
And there
that
was
thing.
like Kermit in a red car, I think, and Fozzie on a horse. And
Um,
oh no, Kermit was on a skateboard. Gonzo was in the red car. And then when they brought them back a year later, they added Animal in a wagon. He was like a fifth character, but he wasn't in the initial release, so he came later on.
yeah, no, my parents didn't really believe in McDonald's that much, so every once in a while, it was like twice a year, maybe if I was lucky, we went. But yeah,
So
that was the one time I got it.
it's probably funny how nostalgic I am for Happy Meals because when I was a child, I couldn't eat McDonald's because it made me sick. Like it made me physically sick every time I ate it. And so I didn't eat McDonald's. And then when we moved to like another state, there was no McDonald's. So I think the first time I ever ate McDonald's, like and didn't immediately throw up, was after I moved to Tasmania. So like when I was in high school, was probably the first time I ever ate McDonald's.
Mm.
Um, but my dad was a police officer, and his police station was across the road from McDonald's. And his partner would regularly go to McDonald's, so he would go and get me all the Happy Meal toys. So I
Mm.
got almost every Happy Meal toy that came out, but I never went to McDonald's. So
Yeah,
to me, the toys are more nostalgic than the food.
food. Yeah, yeah. Like I don't crave McDonald's food, but like some of these toys, I'm just like, yeah, I remember those.
Yeah.
Those were cool. There's like I had a little Mickey Mouse in like a car, but it was like a peg Mickey Mouse, so you should just like plop in and drive around or
Yeah.
whatever. Yeah, yeah. I think the first time I had McDonald's was I was definitely over 10 years old.
Yeah.
So I was like older than most kids the first time I had McDonald's. But yeah, no, it was
This was
more
in a
about again,
tailspin
more about
range.
the toys. Yeah.
Going back to our kind of earlier conversation, they did have tailspin toys at McDonald's. I remember back in the day, and I was more a fan of the Ducktales ones, though, if I'm honest.
Yeah, when I got older, I would just go to wherever had the best collectible thing. Because I mean, I have like Ghostbuster glasses from like Sunoco gas stations, and I have
Oh,
Star Trek glasses from well, where are they from? They were from Burger King, and it was
yeah,
just like whoever had like the cool thing at the time, that's where I'd go just to get the thing, you know.
yeah. So service stations here. There was a service station chain that had two really cool things. They had the Ninja Turtles in cars, which was like a big thing when Ninja Turtles sort of first came out, and it's like Leonardo flying a plane, and they all had different like pullback cars. And those I remember like going to the service station specifically to get. And now I'm wondering, I'm not sure if these were at McDonald's or the service station, but there were X-Men animated series vehicles as well that all like clipped together. It's like Magneto in
Oh,
a car and like Wolverine in a car. There were a lot of guys in cars. Seemed to be. I guess
that
it's a
still
petrol
would be
station.
cool.
Yeah. Oh, they were very cool. I was very excited for them. But I think the place that had the best toys here was Pizza Hut. Pizza Hut had really good toys here. I feel like they didn't always have toys. It was like a limited promo thing they would do every once in a while. But they had Land Before Time puppets, which were significantly bigger than like a McDonald's toy. Like I'm guessing, I mean, they were the size of a hand, so they were like quite a bit bigger than them. So they had the Land Before Time toys, and this is another one. Much like they added Animal in a later wave of the Muppet Babies, they had the initial wave of Land Before Time, and I tried to collect the whole set, and we could just never get Ducky. We could never get the character of Ducky, and I remember being just like really disappointed because Ducky was my favorite. I'm like, oh,
Well,
I can't get Ducky,
but he was
and
probably
then
the most. He's probably the most like popular one
I
because
think
he was
so.
like the lead or whatever. Yeah.
Yeah, so we couldn't get Ducky. So Littlefoot though is I guess more of the lead, but
Was it
Ducky is the
Littlefoot? Oh my god.
yeah Ducky's the tiny little green guy. But anyway, later, like maybe 6 months later or a year later, they brought them back, and they brought it back with a new character. So in the when it came back, you could also get Sharptooth. You couldn't get Sharptooth in the initial wave. So not only did we get Sharptooth, but we got a second stab at getting Ducky, and eventually got the whole set. But these kind of vinyl, they're kind of like made out of vinyl, I guess. And vinyl puppets were a big thing at Pizza Hut. So they did those, and they did, I think they were called Monster Kids, and a couple of other things, all similar, but like vinyl puppets at Pizza Hut. And they were really good toys. But I feel like they were a special promotional item rather than a like a kids meal thing.
Yeah, I remember like the one thing I remember from Pizza Hut when I was younger. I don't think they do this anymore because they don't really have like pizza restaurants anymore. That doesn't really seem to be
No.
like a thing. And but they would have like if you bought a kids meal, they'd have like these toy chests or whatever. At the end of the
Oh
meal,
yeah,
they'd bring it
yeah.
over. You could just stick your hand in there and pick something out of it. But it was
They're the
never, yeah, but it was never anything great or anything.
yeah.
So it was always
I
very
think
like cheap.
so. We have one Pizza Hut restaurant in Tasmania still that's still like has all you can eat buffet and stuff. It's pretty cool. It's super dingy. Like it's not really. I wouldn't really recommend it to someone like if they wanted to go and eat good food. But if you wanted to go there and like have Pizza Hut nostalgia, it's pretty fun. Like to go there and sit down and have a Pizza Hut buffet and eat all the chocolate mousse that you can eat. Like it is pretty fun, but I mean, it's still Pizza Hut. Later on, Pizza Hut here had, I remember them at one point giving out video games. And then the one that I remember the most, you could go to Pizza Hut and you could buy a DVD for like $2. So like to upgrade your evening, because I remember that's where I got Dude Where's My Car on DVD. I got it from Pizza Hut. And there was like there were maybe like 5 movies that you could choose from to get with your Pizza Hut meal.
Oh my God. Oh, yeah. Memories, I tell you. I don't know. Maybe we should talk more about Robot Chicken, just an FYI.
Yeah,
But
I
I
enjoyed this.
mean,
But
yeah, I mean, I think we are talking about Robot Chicken because this is what Robot Chicken is about. It's about a bunch of
yeah,
nostalgia, playing with toys, and then
there is a Fry Kids Robot Chicken sketch. I'm sure of it. Actually,
I
like
don't
I
remember
think,
seeing.
yeah, I'll send it to you afterwards. I'm sure there is one. I think there's
Okay.
a Fry Kids. So like you say, they would have definitely picked up on these kinds of things.
Oh, for
That
sure,
was
yeah.
the other thing that had real toys in it that was the Power Rangers one I watched, but they had specifically selected the Power Rangers. I don't know if you ever saw these, the morphing Power Rangers. So their like heads flip around, but as a result of having a whole head enclosed in their chest, they're like all super beefy, like they're really wide figures. And for whatever reason, that's the Power Rangers figures that they went with on Robot Chicken. I think they're the most iconic ones, even if they're like they look bad. Like objectively, they don't look good, but they are really iconic.
Well, maybe that's why they're just like, look, people will recognize it, but these look kind of cheesy. We'll just go with
Yeah,
that one. It's fine.
yeah, yeah. I
Yeah.
think that's why they did. And again, the right choice. Like that's the one I would select too, even though they're not the main Power Rangers toys. They're like a special thing. They're the best choice.
Yeah. Well, one thing, like, I'm also a bit of a collector of like toys and stuff, and maybe it's because, um how do I put it? Because I'm a girl. I never got lots of action figures when I was a kid. That wasn't a thing. I used to have a couple of like She-Ra action figures that were like
Yeah.
the 3-inch ones, and they also came with like a bunch of accessories that you immediately lost because they were so tiny. That was fine. But like I had a lot of Barbie dolls. I'm not gonna complain about Barbie dolls because despite what people think, I fucking love Barbie dolls. It's fine. Um, but yeah, no, as I got older and stuff, I started collecting things and maybe it's because I wasn't a kid anymore. Like I do have some action figures, but I don't buy action figures. Like I buy a lot of not even statues, but like more like full on like 12-inch figures that some of them move, some of them don't. And just like general collectibles of things.
Yes.
But I do feel like I missed out on some, like I would love to have had some like original like the really complicated to move around transformers that kids were just like, once you get it this way, just leave it for 6 months and then we'll try again. Like those
Yeah.
ones were, I don't know why, because they'd probably be half transformed all the time, but I loved those ones. I thought those ones were really cool.
I have
But
a
like
half
I love some of those.
I have like a half memory that at one point I owned Optimus Prime as a kid. Because if you ask me which Transformers did you have, I would say I had Cup and I had Sea Spray. Those are the only two I really remember having as a child. But I'm pretty sure at one point I had Optimus Prime, and my dad got so sick of transforming it for me that it just disappeared. Because I feel like it was something that was bought for me when I was like way too little for it, and it just kind of it disappeared. Because I have this vague memory of having Optimus Prime, but he's not with any of my other toys that became our like toy chest going forward. He disappeared. So I feel like maybe he was one of those ones that was impossible to transform for a
Yeah.
child.
Yeah. Well, that was one of the biggest complaints when they first put out Transformers was that they're like, there's like 100 steps to transform this, and if you miss one step, you're screwed, you
Yeah.
know? And so
And they're
that's what,
worse. Yeah.
yeah,
They're
and
way
then
worse these days.
yeah, and they're like I see some of them now, and it's like it's just pull this leg, psh, and the whole thing transforms. You're like, what?
Yeah. So my
What?
son has one step changes, which are like that. And they're actually amazing. Like Transformers fans can be a bit iffy on some of this stuff. They want the more hardcore ones. And I get it, like, especially if you're a grown up. But for my son, you can actually play with them like the Transformers were in the cartoon. So you can transform in one step. So a step that he could do as a 2 year old, you can transform from Grimlock into his robot form. And then you can actually play with it instead of playing a game and being like, oh, I need to transform into my T-Rex form, and then having to sit there for 10 minutes and transform him before the game can continue. So
Yeah,
it's like, from a role playing point of view, they're actually a lot better. Like, but for a child, I think they were really, really good. Because I've bought a couple of more modern Transformers, and I get odd ones. Like, I don't hardcore collect them, but I get odd ones. And sometimes I can't transform them. Like, there are just odd ones where I have, and I maybe this is part of my problem. I tend to try and transform them on my own without the instructions because I want to like solve it. But there are ones where I'm like, I just don't understand how these joints are meant to get from here to here. And there'll be some secret kind of point that you have to unclip or something inside. Yeah, so Transformers, like they can get pretty extreme. I know some of the
they can.
masterpiece ones. Like I don't have any of these, but I know some of the masterpiece ones. I've heard of people taking like an hour to transform them.
Yeah, because there's literally like 150, 200 steps and all this kind of stuff.
Yeah,
And it's like twist foot this way, then push up, then lift this pad and go this way. And then and you're just like, oh, I folded one leg and it's been 20 minutes. Yay.
yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Um, but yeah, no, I feel like I missed out on that whole action figure phase of my life. Even though like I see some now and I'm like, oh, I really wish I had that one or that one. But of course, now they're collectibles and they're all this, so they're like $200 each, and I'm like, no, I'm not gonna get that. So I
Yeah,
just
and
yeah,
that's action figures, and I think I was a bit the same. Like I wasn't collecting a lot of modern action figures outside of some specific Spider-Man ones that I had been continuing collecting since I was a child. But like for the most part, I wasn't getting a lot of action figures until I got more into photography, and then purely like the action figures became, as opposed to say a statue, you could just do way more things with the action figures than you could do with the statues, and I think that's kind of how it changed. But for me, like so many of the action figures that I buy now are the same action figures that I was buying as a kid. So they're either like in the case of the Ghostbusters ones, I don't have any of my Ghostbusters figures from when I was a kid. They all died over the course of me and my brother's lifetime. But they reissued the real Ghostbusters, so I bought all of those. Like I just, it was not even like a thing I thought about. I was just like, I'm buying these. Like, and they've recently said that they've recently started re-releasing the Fright Features Ghostbusters that had like the eyeballs that pop out and
Okay.
stuff.
Yeah.
And again, no brainer. I'm just gonna buy those. Like I just know that it's not even a question. I'm just gonna get them. Like, and then the other end of the spectrum is like the high end action figures, which are more for photos. So it's almost like they're appealing to two different things for me. It's like these ones remind me of when I was a kid, and that's why I want them. And then these ones are for photography, and because they look really good. Um,
Yes.
and
Yeah.
and those are kind of the two ends of the spectrum. The ones that were most exciting though, most recently, were the Mutant Mayhem Ninja Turtles figures, because one, they're like they have packaged them very similarly to how the original Turtles came out, so you get that nostalgia from buying them. Like they have weapons racks, which the original Ninja Turtles
Okay.
had and
Yeah.
stuff. And then, but they're also, because they're a kids line, you could get them for $10 here sometimes. Whereas like some of the action figures that I collect are starting from $40. Like like that's the low end of the spectrum. So you could go into Kmart here and buy the entire wave of Ninja Turtles, which maybe I did. And, and it was really exciting. And then my son was into it too. So it was a thing that we did together. And we actually have like two of every figure because I have them and then he has his set that he actually kind of plays with. Um, and we've been trying to track down Leatherhead, which was a harder to find figure, and that's fun. Like it's exciting to go to a shop because also I buy almost nothing from shops these days. Like especially in Australia, if you're buying action figures, you're probably buying them online. But these are in Kmart and they're cheap, so you could go to Kmart, and we go there like once a week looking for Leatherhead, just in the hope that we might come across a Leatherhead, and that's really fun. And so that's been a really fun collecting kind of journey in the last little while. And the toys are pretty good. Like they're also pretty good toys. So I think it's this mixture of the price is right, the toys are pretty good, and it's just a fun pastime to like go and look for them. That they've become probably one of my favorite toy lines for like the last 2 years, just because of everything that goes with them. They're really fun. Also, I like the movie, so that probably helped too.
Love the movie. The movie was great. Yeah. Yeah. I was really happy when I watched that movie and I was like, you know what, they did a really good job. Yeah, sure they I was a little worried because I heard they were like changing up part of the storylines and all this kind of
Yeah,
stuff. But it was just like the most recent cartoon on TV where like yeah, they changed some stuff, but they knew what they were doing. They wrote it really well. You liked the characters. It was fine. That's my
yeah,
thing. My thing is like if you change it and you made it shitty, then it's shitty. That has
yeah,
nothing
yeah,
to
yeah, yeah.
do with the property. But if you change it and it's good, then there's nothing wrong with it. Stop being, don't whine about it, don't complain. Did you enjoy yourself? Yeah, but this was wrong. It doesn't matter. You enjoyed it.
It
Accept it
was
for
so
what it is.
funny. As someone who's in like a lot of turtles groups and things, just there were like a lot of people that were quite vocal about not liking it for all kinds of change type reasons, and it's just been really funny because for in a lot of cases they either came around and were like, oh, it was actually pretty good, like, or they've like doubled down on hating Mutant Mayhem and kind of made it their almost their personality at this point. And it's really sad because the majority of Turtles fans really liked it. You just get this guy. There was this one guy, and I remember him being so mad that the Turtles steal from a shop in it. And it's like, but where did you think they were getting their food from? Like,
In the first
the
place.
Turtles
Yeah.
don't have money. Like,
They don't have jobs. They don't
yeah.
in the comic books, even in the cartoons from the 80s, you see them steal stuff. Like
Yeah.
that
Or they just kind of
happens.
ignore it. Yeah, they
Yeah.
just kind of ignored it. Like, oh, the turtles pay for the pizza in the movie, but it's not logical, really. Like,
No.
it's just a thing that's kind of left. So for this, they were like, oh, how would these guys that live in the sewers eat? Well, they'd steal a packet of chips every now and again. Like,
Yeah. That's
it's
what they do.
it doesn't make them. But he was like, oh, it's so against their character, and it's like, I think maybe you're taking it a bit too seriously. It's turtles.
Yeah. It's also a fictional world. It's cartoons. It's mutated
Yeah,
turtles, guys. Like, relax. It's gonna be
yeah,
okay.
yeah, exactly. And it's the same thing when they're like they make a character female or change the race of a character, God forbid.
Mhm.
And it's just like really that's where you draw the line for your disbelief in this property is
Yeah.
because April looks a little different than she used to look. Like she's been different in every version of Turtles. Like she's never been a very consistent character. Or, or they'll complain about that, but then Splinter gets a free pass, despite the fact that he has the most inconsistent backstory of any character in Ninja Turtles. Like
I know. And look, what in the cartoon, he was a rat that mutated into a human, but in the movie, no, it's the other way around.
other way around.
It's the
Yeah.
other way around. In the cartoon, he was a human that mutated into a rat. In the movie, he's a rat that mutated into human, and then
Who
in
also knew
Human,
martial arts before he mutated. So
that's
he
right.
was a rat
Yes,
that could do martial arts. And then translated.
because he did it
And,
in the cage. Yeah,
yeah. And then in the IDW comics, he's a rat that mutated, but he's also the reincarnation of a man from Japan. So like he's like they've changed it again. Or in the most recent one, he's a rat that learned um like martial arts from watching Jackie Chan movies, and he's also talks like Jackie Chan. Like
yeah.
it's nobody gets
It's
mad about
no,
that.
no. So I'm just like, so what thing are you not disbelieving in all of this?
Yeah,
Which thing do you want to just pick to be like, that's unrealistic? Really?
yeah,
Really? Okay. All right. This is where we're drawing the line. Got it. Got it. Um, but yeah, I like Robot Chicken. That's all I gotta
yeah. Me
say.
too.
Yeah.
I think that this episode where we've almost exclusively not talked about Robot Chicken, but is the kind of wide rate like we've got the long way around to come back and say this is why we like Robot Chicken is actually all of these tangents that come from watching Robot Chicken
Yeah.
because all of these things we're not just bad podcasters that talk about this stuff for no reason. All of these things are things that have kind of grown out of Robot Chicken and are I think actually kind of logical places for conversations to go if you watch a lot of Robot Chicken.
Yeah, like there's definitely skits in the show where I'm like, it's like, oh my God, I forgot about this show. What?
Yeah.
You
Yes.
wouldn't have
Yeah.
gotten there without Robot Chicken. Like, come on.
Yeah.
This is how it
Home
works.
protectors.
Yeah. Love it. Love it. Um, anyways, I guess like I mean, I honestly could just sit around and talk about toys and nostalgia for like ever. You know this. I can
Yeah.
just do it. Um, but like we might be going too far from Robot Chicken. And I feel like from the first words we've said in this podcast, we both really like this show.
Yeah. Yeah. That I don't
I
think it was
don't
ever a
know.
question. And that's funny because a lot of times when we've done, especially when I've come on to your show, you've picked things where I really like something that you don't like, or vice versa. Like a
Yes.
lot of times, there's been things where we struggled to connect on which one was good. But this time, and maybe that's why we're having trouble talking about it. It just is good. Like
It is.
it's just a good show.
Yeah. Well, I mean, we did do the whole part where we're just like, oh, I like this sketch and this sketch and this sketch. And I'm like, I mean, there's 20, like in those 11 minutes, there's like what, 15 sketches every 11 minutes or something, depending on how long or short the sketches are. I mean, we could do this all day. All
And people
day.
are probably going to have more fun going and just watching Robot Chicken
Yeah.
than us repeating the sketches that we enjoy to each other and then laughing.
Because I think like I personally I think the sketches I described, I did a horrible job of describing them.
Yeah,
And people were just
yeah,
like, that doesn't
exactly.
make any sense. I'm like, trust me, if you it's a visual medium. You'll watch
Yes.
it, you'll get it. You'll know exactly what I mean. It's really, really funny. Like
Yeah.
uh there's an episode where they did behind the music of Mutant Mayhem.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
I had that on my list. Yeah.
And there's like a sad scene, just like, oh well, animal. They showed like they put him down at like an
They
animal
put him
shelter,
down.
and I'm like, what? And then at the end, they're like, on the next episode, behind the music, and they're like, it's about Jem, and she walks up to urinal and starts peeing and looks over her shoulder, and she's like, is she truly outrageous? And you're like, what? What are you getting at right now?
And then
There's also
they gave
yeah.
Janice Hep C from she got Hep C.
She's saying this while she's on like Howard Stern or
Yeah,
something.
yeah,
Like,
yeah.
what is happening here?
From Tommy
Um,
Lee.
yeah, it's absolutely crazy. And there's
Without going too far off topic again, did you watch the mutant? Sorry, not the Mutant Mayhem. The Electric Mayhem show on Disney Plus.
is it new?
Yeah, it got cancelled after. It's already been cancelled,
Oh,
but they did one season, but it's really good. It like if you're
okay.
a Muppets fan, it feels like it felt like actually Disney had kind of worked out what to do with the Muppets property for a bit,
Mhm.
but I guess nobody also watched it and they didn't promote it at all.
I didn't
So
hear about it. No, yeah.
yeah, it's from the creator of the Goldbergs, and it's really fun, and but it is kind of a in this world, the Electric Mayhem are a real band, and it's like them getting back together to write an album because they've never actually released an album in their entire career. They've just played all these shows and things, and then they actually owe this record company an album. So it's about them trying to get back into the studio, and specifically about this woman trying to wrangle the Electric Mayhem to get them into the studio to record a show while they're just all the Electric Mayhem and doing all their own individual things that stop them from doing any work ever. And it's really funny. It's a really good show, like way better than I expected it to be.
Like, but do they do it like documentary style or do they do just like regular sitcom style?
Uh it no, more just like a normal sitcom.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, because
And it's got
they had that like Muppet show like 5, 6 years ago, but they
the
made it
ABC
like it was like
one.
30 Rock or something. They did it like that
Yes.
way. Yeah.
Yeah. And that was again like and wow, I just realized. So actually, in my we're about to record in 2 weeks for my podcast for our season 3. We're doing a Muppets episode, so that's also maybe why Muppets is on my mind a little bit. But I feel like Disney have really struggled to know what to do with the Muppets, and so they had that ABC show, which was a bit iffy, but then like later on, it actually gets decent. Like I feel like they kind of found their flow, and then they canceled it. Like it was like they finally found their flow and then they canceled it. And then they've had like 3 different Disney Plus Muppet shows that have all run for like one season, and they're all kind of just okay. They're
Mhm.
not. They miss what the Muppets get, and then they finally did the Mayhem show, and it was good, but I guess it didn't perform the way they wanted it to, and so that's not getting any more seasons. It's just like it's really frustrating. As someone who loves the Muppets to see them like almost get it right. Like they had the Jason Segel Muppet movie, which was really good,
Loved it. Loved it.
and
Yeah.
then the sequel was like probably maybe not quite as good, but still okay. But then just it never went anywhere. Like it just they just dropped it, and I hope that they can work out what to do with the Muppets.
I hope so too. I think there's enough there and there's enough history there for them to be able to do something with it
Yeah,
and just make some money. But I think a lot of streaming services are just like, oh, we're canceling these shows because nobody watched it. I'm like, we didn't know they existed. You still have to advertise. You still have to be
yeah.
like, here's a thing that you might be interested in, blah blah blah, instead of
Well,
putting it at the bottom of a list and then be like, well, nobody watched it because it's
yeah.
600th on like if you scroll through what's new.
And they dropped all the episodes at once as well, so they kind of just came straight out. And then if you didn't see them in that week that they came out, kind of thing, like say they're gone. They're off unless you search for them, you wouldn't know they're there.
There. Yeah, no, I hate when they do that. I'm like, because it's not like it doesn't tell you the quality of the show. It doesn't tell you
Yeah,
who's gonna watch it or who's not gonna watch it. If nobody knows it exists, of course nobody's gonna watch it. They don't know to look for it. They don't know it's there. They don't know what it could possibly be when they come over the picture. They're just like, Huh? What is this? You don't know what that is. You
And
know.
I guarantee that the sequel that I will be pitching for the Muppets is not what Disney wants. So, so tune back in like April when that episode comes out. We'll
Yeah.
get Tracy to share it as well because we're in the middle of a recording break at the moment. But
Mhm.
I guarantee what like so the way our show works is we pitch sequels to the properties, and one of us, so me or my co-host Nick goes one week and the other goes the other week. And I said to him, I'm officially requesting the episode two place because one, I don't think we can make our episode one be mine. Like our first episode back of the season cannot be mine. It's not appropriate. So we'll do yours, and then mine will be the B side episode because I went pretty hard in a direction with it, and I think it's gonna be so much fun, but I don't want to spoil it, like because Nick listens to your show, so I'm
Yeah.
keeping it under wraps. But I will say it's going to be a good one.
Yeah.
It's
I mean, I
really
do like, yes, listeners still listen to my show, don't worry. But also, Brendan shows it's great. Like, I'm sorry. Some of the ideas you guys come up with are either just crazy. Like you're just sitting there going like, what were these people on when they thought about this? Or like I
very
feel
little
like
sleeping time most of
yeah,
the time.
right. But like, but the other half is like, oh my god, people should make this movie. And like, I haven't listened to any episodes where I'm just like, oh, you guys suck at this. Like, oh, I've never listened to an episode where I thought that was the case. None
Well,
of
that's
them.
nice.
Like
Yeah, and
musicals, the
we try
Disney
pretty hard.
ones, yeah.
Yeah.
Um,
This one, I don't. Again, Disney will definitely not make the Muppet sequel that I am going to, but I think people will enjoy it. So
yeah, yeah. So
maybe they
definitely
should.
have a
Maybe they should
listen.
take a risk.
Sorry, where can people find your podcast?
So it's anywhere that you listen to podcasts. So wherever you're listening to this one, but it's called That Movie You Like the Sequel. You can find That Movie You Like the Sequel on Facebook and I guess Instagram too. We're pretty bad at social media. Probably the best way is just to listen to it. But yeah, we are on social media and things as well.
Don't worry, I'll put a link on the show page and
Oh, thank you.
of course so people can find you. And
And we're
if
not.
you listen to all the episodes, you may find my voice on a couple of them. So
Yeah, there's a great and you did the thing that almost none of our guests do, which is actually pitch the sequel yourself, which is an impressive feat because some people think that they want to do it, and maybe this was you too, but they think they want to do it, and it's actually more work than you might imagine.
oh
It
yeah,
is.
well because I didn't even technically I didn't finish mine. I
Yeah,
got like two-thirds of the way because honestly, I was writing up until we started recording, even though you guys gave me like 2 months or something,
yeah.
and I had nothing for the longest time. And then that day, like an hour before, I had a blank page still. I think I had like a paragraph. And then I was like, oh my God, I got it. Started typing. And like we're about to start writing. I was like, fuck, I gotta get this one more sentence, like it was crazy. But
So
yes, it
on
was
average, we have a fortnight. I would say 2 to 3 weeks at max usually, but 2 weeks usually to write a script. And we've had, well, I mean, we've both written down to the wire, but I've had Nick writing it while I'm setting up the equipment. Like he's like writing the last part of his, just trying to tidy up the ending, while I'm setting up microphones to record. So we do at times like take down the wire, and I think we're quite like initially that was very stressful. I think now we are a bit more convinced that we will do it even if it is in a very short period of time, and we're good at writing things fast. It doesn't mean that we're good at writing good things, but we're very good at writing things fast.
yeah, yeah. So yeah, people definitely have a listen. It's a really good listen.
Especially the Galaxy Quest episode, very
Yes,
very good. And
you
while
know,
we don't have any episodes coming out right this second because we are in a recording break to try and like get ahead again. We do have 2 seasons out already, so there's plenty there to listen to.
there's a ton like, and it's all different types of movies,
Yeah,
genres. So it's good
pick
stuff. It's
a
good
movie that you
stuff.
like. Don't necessarily start at the start. Just pick a movie that you like
Yeah,
and see what you.
yeah. It's good stuff. It's good stuff. Well, Brendan, thank you so much for coming on this week.
Anytime. I'll always come on your show.
Yay!
And I think I'm already signed up to do more episodes this year. So
Yeah, probably.
I can't remember what they are, but
Yeah.
I put my name down for at least one more. So
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, I make the list, and even every week I'm like, ooh, that person's next. That's when I figure it
Yeah.
out. It's fine.
And I
Uh,
had remembered that I was doing Robot Chicken with you, but like you messaged me and I was away and I was like, oh no, like I need to start watching Robot Chicken.
yeah, at least it's not one of those shows that it's like it's so heavy and like the storyline and stuff that you have to watch it to remember the minutia. It's just like it's random shit. You're fine.
It was really fun. Like, so it was really fun to go back to. The thing that I was kind of overwhelmed of is there's so much of it. Like, how do I decide which bit to watch? Because I can't watch it all. Like, I need to pick. So I actually watched a lot of YouTube compilations. So I like watched the best of season one and the best of that was the way that I could, I guess, get back into the Robot Chicken zone as quickly as possible.
You probably did much better than I did because I just watched. I know I own the DVDs. I just watched what came on TV. All right. Well, we'll see you. We'll have you on next time. Thank you very much again.
Cool. No worries. Bye.
Bye. Well, that's it for this episode of Off My Shelf. Until next time, you can follow along on Instagram and Twitter at ohmyshelf, or you can send an email to ohmyshelf@gmail.com. This episode was produced and edited by me, Tracy, with original theme song by Ori Falconer. Like, subscribe, leave a comment wherever you listen to this podcast. Come back next time to see what falls off my shelf.